The sun hung low over the sprawling concrete expanse of Ridgewood Plaza, a massive shopping center parking lot on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. It was a Saturday evening in late October, and the autumn chill had begun to settle across the city. The temperature had dropped to 48 degrees, and a gusty wind swept through the rows of parked cars, carrying with it the scent of exhaust fumes and distant fast food. Madison Turner sat alone on the curb near the furthest edge of the parking lot, her small frame hunched over, arms wrapped tightly around her knees. At 8 years old, she was a fragile-looking child with light brown hair pulled into two uneven pigtails, wearing a purple jacket that was slightly too large for her and worn sneakers that had seen better days. Her face was streaked with tears, and her hazel eyes darted nervously across the sea of vehicles, searching for a familiar face that never appeared. The parking lot stretched endlessly in every direction, a labyrinth of asphalt and painted lines that covered nearly a third of the plaza's total area. Cars came and went, their headlights cutting through the growing darkness as shoppers hurried to their vehicles, oblivious to the small girl sitting alone in the shadows. Madison had been waiting for over an hour. Her mother, Rebecca Turner, had brought her to the plaza earlier that afternoon, promising they would only be gone for a few minutes. Rebecca had a habit of making promises she couldn't keep, especially when her boyfriend, Derek Collins, was involved. Madison had learned not to trust those promises, but she was still just a child, and hope was a hard thing to abandon. The wind picked up again, and Madison shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her body. She glanced at the digital clock on a nearby bank building, 6:47 p.m. The sky was darkening rapidly, and the streetlights began to flicker on, casting long shadows across the parking lot. She felt small, invisible, forgotten. A group of teenagers walked past her, laughing and shoving each other playfully. Madison looked up at them hopefully, but they didn't even notice her. She was just another piece of the urban landscape, as unremarkable as the shopping carts scattered near the grocery store entrance or the discarded receipts tumbling across the pavement. Madison's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since lunch at school, and that felt like a lifetime ago. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a crumpled dollar bill and a handful of loose change, barely enough for a candy bar, but she didn't dare leave her spot. What if her mother came back and couldn't find her? What if she got lost in the massive plaza? The fear of being even more alone kept her rooted to the curb. As the minutes ticked by, Madison's anxiety grew. She thought about school, about her teacher, Mrs. Henderson, who always smiled at her, about her best friend, Chloe Martinez, who shared her lunch when Madison forgot hers. She wished desperately that she was anywhere but here, alone in this cold, impersonal parking lot. The sound of rumbling engines broke through her thoughts. Madison looked up to see a group of motorcycles turning into the parking lot, their headlights bright against the encroaching darkness. There were 6 of them, riding in a loose formation, their chrome and steel gleaming under the streetlights. The bikes were powerful, their engines producing a deep, throaty roar that echoed across the concrete expanse. Madison's first instinct was fear. She had seen motorcycles before, had heard adults whisper about bikers with a mixture of fascination and wariness. The movies and TV shows always portrayed them as dangerous, unpredictable, people to be avoided. The motorcycles pulled into a section of the parking lot about 50 yards from where Madison sat. The riders dismounted, removing their helmets and stretching after what must have been a long ride. Even from a distance, Madison could see they were wearing leather jackets with patches and emblems, the uniform of a motorcycle club. The leader of the group was a tall man in his early 40s with a weathered face and steel-gray eyes. His name was Austin Reed, and he had been riding motorcycles for over 25 years. Austin was the president of a small motorcycle club called the Iron Cross Riders, a group of men and women who shared a love of the open road and a commitment to looking out for one another. The patch on his jacket bore the club's emblem, a stylized cross with wings extending from either side, symbolizing freedom and brotherhood. Next to Austin stood Jacob Walker, a stocky man in his mid-30s with dark hair and a thick beard. Jacob was the club's sergeant-at-arms, responsible for maintaining order within the group and ensuring that everyone followed the club's code of conduct. He had a reputation for being tough but fair, and his loyalty to Austin and the club was absolute. Lauren Mitchell was the only woman in the group that evening. In her late 20s, she had short blonde hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. Lauren had joined the Iron Cross Riders 3 years earlier, after her brother had been killed in a motorcycle accident. Riding had become her way of dealing with grief, and the club had become her family. She was known for her mechanical skills and her fierce protectiveness of those she cared about. Tyler Brooks was the youngest member of the group, just 23 years old. He had grown up in foster care, bouncing from home to home until he aged out of the system at 18. Motorcycles had given him a sense of purpose and belonging that he had never found elsewhere. Tyler was quiet and observant, with a gentle nature that contrasted with his imposing physical presence. Zoe Carter was a woman in her mid-30s, with long dark hair and kind brown eyes. She worked as a nurse at a local hospital and rode motorcycles in her free time to decompress from the stress of her job. Zoe had seen enough pain and suffering in her career to make her acutely aware of when someone was in trouble, and she had a natural instinct for helping those in need. Finally, there was Dylan Parker, a man in his late 30s with sandy blonde hair and an easy smile. Dylan owned a small auto repair shop and was known throughout the club for his sense of humor and his ability to lighten any situation. But beneath his jovial exterior was a man who had overcome significant personal challenges, including a battle with alcoholism that he had won through sheer determination and the support of his friends. The group gathered near their motorcycles, discussing their plans for the evening. They had just returned from a charity ride to raise money for veterans, a cause that was important to many club members. The ride had been successful, and they were in good spirits as they prepared to grab dinner at a nearby restaurant. It was Lauren who first noticed Madison. She'd been scanning the parking lot out of habit, a rider's instinct to always be aware of their surroundings, when her eyes landed on the small figure sitting alone on the curb. Lauren frowned, watching the child for a moment before tapping Austin on the shoulder. "Austin, you see that?" she said, nodding toward Madison. Austin turned and followed Lauren's gaze. His expression shifted from relaxed to concerned in an instant. "That's a kid," he said quietly. "What's a kid doing out here alone at this hour?" Jacob stepped closer, squinting into the distance. "Could be waiting for someone," he suggested, though his tone made it clear he didn't believe his own words. "For over an hour," Zoe said, having joined the conversation. "I noticed her when we first pulled in. She hasn't moved." Tyler shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe we should check on her," he said. "Make sure she's okay." Dylan nodded in agreement. "Yeah, something doesn't feel right about this." Austin made the decision quickly. "Let's go talk to her, but let's approach slowly. We don't want to scare her." The group walked across the parking lot toward Madison, their heavy boots crunching against the pavement. As they drew closer, Madison looked up, and Austin could see the fear in her eyes. She tensed, ready to run if necessary. Austin raised his hands in a calming gesture and stopped a few feet away from her. "Hey there," he said gently. "You okay?" Madison didn't answer. She stared at the group of bikers, her mind racing. They looked intimidating with their leather jackets and rough appearances, but there was something in Austin's voice that didn't match the fear she had been taught to feel. Lauren crouched down to Madison's level, making herself less imposing. "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked softly. "Madison," the girl whispered, her voice barely audible. "That's a beautiful name," Lauren said with a warm smile. "I'm Lauren. Are you here with someone, Madison?" Madison hesitated, then shook her head. My mum. She said she'd be right back, but she's been gone for a long time. Austin exchanged a glance with Jacob. The situation was becoming clearer, and it wasn't good. How long have you been waiting? Austin asked. Madison shrugged, tears welling up in her eyes again. I don't know. A long time. Zoe stepped forward, her nursing instincts kicking in. Are you cold? Hungry? Madison nodded, unable to hold back the tears any longer. Zoe immediately removed her own jacket and draped it over the child's shoulders. It's okay, honey. We're going to help you. Dylan pulled a granola bar from his pocket and offered it to Madison. Here, you should eat something. Madison took the granola bar with trembling hands and began to eat, her hunger momentarily overriding her fear. Austin pulled out his phone. We need to call someone. Does your mom have a phone? Do you know her number? Madison recited her mother's number from memory, and Austin dialed it. The phone rang and rang, but no one answered. He tried again with the same result. His jaw tightened with frustration. What about other family? Jacob asked. Grandparents? An aunt or uncle? Madison shook her head. Just my mom. Tyler looked around the parking lot, his expression dark. This is messed up. Who leaves their kid alone like this? Someone who's not thinking straight, Austin said grimly. Or someone who doesn't care. Lauren placed a comforting hand on Madison's shoulder. Listen, Madison, we're not going to leave you here alone. We're going to stay with you until we figure this out, okay? Madison looked up at Lauren, and for the first time since the bikers had arrived, she felt a small flicker of hope. These strangers, these intimidating-looking people on motorcycles, were showing her more kindness than she had experienced in a long time. The group formed a protective circle around Madison, shielding her from the cold wind and the indifferent flow of shoppers. Austin tried calling Madison's mother again, but there was still no answer. He then called the non-emergency police line to report the situation. As they waited, the bikers tried to keep Madison's spirits up. Dylan told her silly jokes that made her giggle despite her fear. Zoe shared stories about her work at the hospital, careful to keep them light and uplifting. Tyler showed Madison pictures on his phone of his own motorcycle, explaining how the engine worked in simple terms that fascinated her. Lauren noticed that Madison's sneakers had holes in them and that her clothes were worn and ill-fitting. It was clear that the child's home life was far from ideal. Lauren felt a surge of anger toward Madison's mother, whoever she was, for putting her daughter in this position. 30 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled into the parking lot. Two officers emerged, a middle-aged man with graying hair named Officer Richard Hayes, and a younger woman with sharp, observant eyes named Officer Jennifer Santos. They approached the group cautiously, their hands resting on their belts in a professional but non-threatening manner. Evening, Officer Hayes said, his eyes moving from the bikers to Madison. We got a call about a child alone in the parking lot? Austin stepped forward. That's right. We found her sitting here by herself. She says her mother left her over an hour ago and hasn't come back. We tried calling the mother, but no answer. Officer Santos knelt down beside Madison. Hi there, I'm Officer Santos. Can you tell me what happened? Madison repeated her story, her voice small and uncertain. Officer Santos listened carefully, taking notes and asking gentle questions. When Madison finished, the officer stood and spoke quietly with her partner. Officer Hayes turned to Austin. You did the right thing by calling us. We'll take it from here. What's going to happen to her? Lauren asked, her voice edged with concern. We'll try to locate her mother first, Officer Santos explained. If we can't reach her or if there are concerns about the child's safety, we'll contact Child Protective Services. Madison's eyes widened in fear. She had heard about CPS at school, had heard other kids whisper about it with dread. I don't want to go with strangers, she said, her voice rising in panic. Zoe placed a reassuring hand on Madison's back. It's going to be okay, sweetheart. The officers just want to make sure you're safe. Austin looked at Officer Hayes. Is there any way we can stay until you figure this out? The kid's already scared enough. Officer Hayes considered this for a moment, then nodded. That's fine. Just stay close by. The officers spent the next 20 minutes trying to reach Madison's mother and checking databases for any information about the family. Eventually, Officer Santos received a call and stepped away to take it. When she returned, her expression was grim. "We found the mother," she said quietly to Officer Hayes, loud enough for the bikers to hear. "She's at a bar about 10 miles from here. Apparently, she's been there for the past 3 hours." Austin's hands clenched into fists. "She left her kid alone in a parking lot to go drinking." Officer Hayes sighed. "Unfortunately, yes. We're sending an officer to pick her up now." "What happens then?" Jacob asked. "That depends," Officer Santos said. "CPS will likely get involved. They'll assess the situation and determine what's best for the child." Madison began to cry again, and Lauren pulled her into a hug. "It's okay, Madison. Everything's going to be okay." But even as Lauren said the words, she wasn't sure she believed them. The system was imperfect, and there were no guarantees about what would happen to Madison next. As they waited for Madison's mother to arrive, the bikers stayed close to the little girl, forming a barrier between her and the rest of the world. They had stumbled upon a child in need, and their instinct had been to protect her. It was a decision that would change all of their lives in ways they couldn't yet imagine. An hour later, Rebecca Turner arrived at the parking lot in the back of a police cruiser. She was a woman in her early 30s, with disheveled blonde hair and bloodshot eyes. Even from a distance, it was clear she had been drinking heavily. She stumbled slightly as she got out of the car, steadying herself against the door before the officer guided her toward the group. Madison's face lit up when she saw her mother, but the joy was quickly replaced by confusion and hurt. "Mom," she called out, her voice breaking. Rebecca barely looked at her daughter. "I told you I'd be right back," she slurred, her words barely coherent. "Stop making such a big deal out of everything." Austin felt his anger rising. He had dealt with many difficult situations in his years as a rider, but seeing a parent show such blatant disregard for their child's well-being was almost more than he could bear. Officer Santos stepped between Rebecca and Madison. "Ms. Turner, we need to have a serious conversation about what happened here tonight." Rebecca waved her hand dismissively. "She's fine. I just lost track of time. It happens. You left your 8-year-old daughter alone in a parking lot for over 3 hours while you were at a bar," Officer Hayes said, his voice stern. "That's not losing track of time. That's endangerment." Rebecca's demeanor shifted from dismissive to defensive. "I had a rough day. I needed a break." "You don't know what it's like raising a kid on your own." "That's not an excuse," Lauren said, unable to contain herself any longer. "You don't abandon your child to go drinking." Rebecca turned her bleary eyes on Lauren. "Who are you? You're not her mother. You don't get a say in this." "Maybe not," Austin said, stepping forward, "but we found your daughter sitting alone in the dark, cold and scared. Someone had to care about her safety, and it clearly wasn't you." The tension in the air was palpable. Officer Santos raised her hand to calm the situation. "Everyone needs to take a step back. Miss Turner, I'm going to be honest with you. Based on what happened tonight, Child Protective Services will be contacted. They'll conduct an investigation to determine if Madison is safe in your care." Rebecca's face paled. "You can't take my daughter away from me." "No one's taking her away right now," Officer Hayes clarified, "but there will be follow-up. You'll be contacted by a social worker within the next few days." Madison watched the exchange in silence, her small hands clutching Zoe's jacket. She wanted to defend her mother, wanted to say that this wasn't normal, that Rebecca was usually better than this, but the words wouldn't come. Deep down, Madison knew that this wasn't the first time her mother had put her own needs above her daughter's safety. Officer Santos knelt beside Madison again. "Madison, you're going to go home with your mom tonight. But if you ever feel unsafe, or if something like this happens again, I want you to call 911, okay? Can you do that?" Madison nodded, though she wasn't sure she had the courage to actually make that call. Before Madison left, Austin pulled a small card from his wallet. On it was his name and phone number, along with the Iron Cross Riders logo. He handed it to Officer Santos. "If there's anything we can do to help, let us know. We want to make sure this kid is okay." Officer Santos looked surprised, but took the card. "That's unusual, but thank you." Lauren crouched down one more time to speak to Madison. "You're a brave girl, Madison. Don't forget that. And if you ever need anything, you find a way to reach out, okay?" Madison nodded, tears streaming down her face. She didn't want to leave these people who had shown her such kindness, but she had no choice. As Rebecca led Madison away, stumbling slightly as she walked, the bikers watched with heavy hearts. They had done what they could, but it didn't feel like enough. "That poor kid," Tyler said quietly. "She deserves better." "She does," Austin agreed, "but sometimes life doesn't give people what they deserve." Jacob crossed his arms. "So what now? We just walk away and hope for the best." "We gave the officer our contact information," Austin said. "If there's a way to follow up, we will. But we can't force our way into this situation." Zoe looked troubled. "I see cases like this at the hospital all the time. Kids who slip through the cracks because the system is overwhelmed and underfunded. It's heartbreaking." Dylan kicked at the ground in frustration. "There's got to be something more we can do." "There might be," Lauren said thoughtfully, "but we need to be smart about it. We can't just show up at her house or anything like that. We need to work within the system." The group stood in the parking lot for a while longer, discussing their options. Eventually, they decided to reach out to Officer Santos in a few days to see if there was any update on Madison's situation. It wasn't much, but it was something. As they mounted their motorcycles and prepared to leave, Austin looked back at the spot where Madison had been sitting. The image of her small, frightened face was burned into his memory. He had always believed that riders looked out for one another, but tonight had reminded him that sometimes the people who needed help the most were the ones outside the club. The next few days passed slowly for the members of the Iron Cross Riders. Each of them found themselves thinking about Madison, wondering if she was safe, if her mother was taking better care of her. Austin had trouble sleeping, his mind replaying the events in the parking lot over and over again. On Wednesday afternoon, Austin received a phone call from Officer Santos. She explained that Child Protective Services had conducted a home visit and found several concerning issues. The apartment where Madison lived was poorly maintained, with little food in the refrigerator and evidence of ongoing neglect. Rebecca Turner had a history of substance abuse and had been in and out of rehabilitation programs for years. "What happens now?" Austin asked, his grip tight on the phone. "Madison has been placed in temporary foster care," Officer Santos said. "Her mother is being required to complete a treatment program and demonstrate that she can provide a safe home before Madison will be returned to her custody." Austin felt a mix of relief and sadness. Madison was safe for now, but she had been torn away from the only parent she knew, placed with strangers in an unfamiliar environment. "Is there any way we can help?" Austin asked. "I know it's unusual, but we all felt a connection to that kid. We want to make sure she's okay." Officer Santos was quiet for a moment. "I'll be honest with you, Mr. Reed. It's highly irregular for civilians to stay involved in a case like this. But I've been thinking about that night in the parking lot. You and your friends showed more concern for Madison's well-being than her own mother did. Let me talk to the social worker assigned to the case. Maybe there's something that can be arranged." "I'd appreciate that," Austin said. "We're not trying to interfere. We just want to help if we can." Over the next week, Officer Santos worked with a social worker named Patricia Lawson to explore options for the Iron Cross Riders to support Madison. Patricia was a veteran of the child welfare system, a woman in her 50s who had seen countless children pass through the system. She was initially skeptical of involving a motorcycle club in a foster care case, but Officer Santos vouched for the group's intentions. Eventually, Patricia agreed to meet with Austin and a few other club members to discuss a potential mentorship program. The meeting took place at a local community center, a neutral location where everyone could feel comfortable. Patricia was a stern-looking woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun and glasses perched on the end of her nose. She studied Austin, Lauren, and Zoe as they sat down across from her, her expression unreadable. "Officer Santos tells me you want to help Madison Turner," Patricia began. "I'll be up front with you. I'm not in the habit of involving motorcycle clubs in my cases." "We understand that," Austin said calmly, "but we were there the night Madison was left alone. We saw how scared she was, how neglected she's been. We're not asking for special treatment. We just want to be there for her if we can." Patricia leaned back in her chair. "What exactly do you envision this being there looking like?" Lauren spoke up. "We thought maybe we could be mentors. Take her to the park, help her with homework, show her that there are people who care about her. Nothing invasive, just support." Zoe added, "I work as a nurse, and I see the effects of childhood trauma every day. Madison needs stability and positive role models. We can provide that." Patricia considered their words carefully. "You realize that Madison's situation is complicated. Her mother is in treatment, but there's no guarantee she'll complete the program or that she'll regain custody. Madison might be in foster care for months, possibly longer." "We understand," Austin said. "We're committed for however long it takes." Patricia pulled out a file and opened it, scanning the pages. "Madison is currently staying with a foster family, the Andersons. They're experienced foster parents, but they have 3 other children in their care. Madison could benefit from additional support." She looked up at the group. "I'm willing to try this on a trial basis. You'll need to undergo background checks and complete some basic training on working with children in the foster care system. If everything checks out, we can arrange supervised visits with Madison." Austin felt a surge of relief. "Thank you. We won't let you down." "Don't thank me yet," Patricia said. "If at any point I feel that your involvement isn't in Madison's best interest, it ends immediately. Her well-being is my only concern." "Understood," Lauren said. "It's our only concern too." Over the next 3 weeks, Austin, Lauren, Zoe, Tyler, Jacob, and Dylan all completed background checks and training. They learned about the challenges faced by children in foster care, the importance of boundaries, and how to provide support without overstepping. Finally, the day came for their first supervised visit with Madison. It took place at a park in a quiet neighborhood, with Patricia present to observe. Madison arrived with her foster mother, Mrs. Anderson, a kind-looking woman in her 40s with warm brown eyes. When Madison saw the bikers, her face lit up with recognition and something that looked like relief. "You came back," she said, her voice filled with wonder. Lauren smiled and knelt down to Madison's level. "Of course we did. We told you we wouldn't forget about you." The visit lasted 2 hours. The group played with Madison on the playground, pushed her on the swings, and listened as she told them about her new school and her foster siblings. Madison was quieter than a typical 8-year-old, more reserved, but moments of joy broke through. When Dylan made her laugh with his silly voices, when Tyler showed her how to skip stones at a nearby pond, when Zoe braided her hair with gentle, practiced hands. Patricia watched from a distance, taking notes but saying little. At the end of the visit, she pulled Austin aside. "That went well," she said, her tone slightly warmer than before. "Madison clearly feels comfortable with you all. We can schedule another visit in 2 weeks if you're still interested." "We are," Austin said firmly. "Absolutely." As the bikers rode away from the park that evening, they felt a sense of purpose that went beyond their usual club activities. They had become guardians for a child who desperately needed someone to care. The mentorship program with Madison became a central part of life for the Iron Cross riders. Every 2 weeks, they met with her at various locations, parks, museums, community centers, always under the watchful eye of Patricia or another social worker. With each visit, Madison opened up a little more, revealing pieces of her personality that had been hidden beneath layers of fear and neglect. They discovered that Madison loved to draw. Lauren brought her sketchbooks and colored pencils, and Madison filled page after page with pictures of flowers, animals, and, increasingly, motorcycles. She told them that drawing made her feel calm, like she could create a world where everything made sense. Tyler taught her about engines and how things worked. He had a gift for explaining complex concepts in simple terms, and Madison absorbed every word. She asked endless questions, her curiosity insatiable, and Tyler patiently answered each one. Zoe focused on making sure Madison felt cared for in practical ways. She noticed when Madison's clothes were too small or worn out and quietly arranged with Mrs. Anderson to take Madison shopping. The day they spent picking out new clothes together, Madison couldn't stop smiling. It was such a simple thing, but it meant the world to her. Dylan brought laughter into Madison's life. He told jokes, made funny faces, and never took himself too seriously. He taught Madison that it was okay to have fun, to be silly, to let go of the weight she had been carrying for so long. Jacob was the quiet presence, the one who stood back and observed, but was always there if needed. Madison gravitated toward him during moments when the world felt overwhelming. He didn't try to fill the silence with words. He just sat with her, a steady, calming force. And Austin became the father figure Madison had never had. He was firm but kind, setting boundaries, while also making it clear that she was valued and important. He told her stories about his own childhood, about mistakes he had made, and lessons he had learned. He wanted her to understand that everyone struggled, but that struggle didn't define you. 3 months into the mentorship, Madison's mother completed her treatment program. There was talk of Madison returning home, but the social workers wanted to move slowly to ensure that Rebecca was truly ready to be a responsible parent. Austin and the others were conflicted. They wanted Madison to have a stable home with her mother. Family was important, but they also worried. What if Rebecca fell back into old patterns? What if Madison ended up back in that parking lot, alone and scared? Patricia called a meeting with the bikers to discuss the transition plan. Rebecca has made significant progress, she explained. She's completed rehab, she's attending regular therapy sessions, and she's found stable employment. We're going to start with supervised visits and gradually increase her time with Madison. How does Madison feel about this? Lauren asked. Honestly, she's scared, Patricia admitted. She wants to believe her mother has changed, but she's been disappointed before. That's why your continued involvement is so important. You've become a support system for her, a safety net. We're not going anywhere, Austin said. Whatever Madison needs, we're here. The first supervised visit between Madison and her mother took place at a family counseling center. The bikers weren't present, but Madison told them about it during their next visit. She described how her mother had cried and apologized, how she had promised to do better. Do you believe her? Zoe asked gently. Madison was quiet for a long time. I want to, she finally said, but I'm scared to hope. That's okay, Zoe reassured her. Hope is hard when you've been hurt, but you don't have to figure this out alone. We're here with you, no matter what happens. Over the next 2 months, Madison's visits with her mother increased in frequency and duration. Rebecca was genuinely trying, to rebuild her relationship with her daughter. She attended every counseling session, followed all the recommendations, and slowly began to earn back Madison's trust. But the process wasn't smooth. There were setbacks, days when Rebecca was short-tempered or distracted, moments when Madison felt like she was back in that parking lot, waiting for a mother who might not come. During those times, Madison would call Austin. He had given her a simple cell phone with only a few numbers programmed in, and she knew she could reach out whenever she needed to. One evening, Madison called in tears. "She forgot to pick me up from school," she sobbed. "I waited for an hour and she forgot." Austin's jaw tightened. "Where are you now?" "The school office. They called her and she said she got held up at work. But Austin, what if she was lying? What if she was at a bar again?" "I'm on my way," Austin said. "Hang tight, kiddo." Within 20 minutes, Austin arrived at the school on his motorcycle. Madison ran to him and he pulled her into a hug. "It's going to be okay," he said. "Let me talk to the school and then we'll figure this out." After confirming with the school that Rebecca had indeed been held up at work, a legitimate issue with her car, Austin took Madison to get ice cream. They sat at a small table outside the shop, and Austin let Madison talk through her feelings. "I know you're scared," he said, "and you have every right to be. Your mom hurt you, and that doesn't just go away. But here's the thing, Madison. People can change. It takes time and it takes work, but it's possible." "What if she doesn't?" Madison asked, her voice small. "Then you'll still be okay," Austin said firmly, "because you've got us. You've got a whole group of people who care about you and who aren't going anywhere. No matter what happens with your mom, you're not alone." Madison looked at him, her eyes searching his face. "You really mean that?" "I really mean that." As the months passed, Rebecca continued to improve. She attended parenting classes, learned better coping mechanisms for stress, and slowly rebuilt her life. Patricia reported that Rebecca was one of the success stories, a parent who had genuinely turned things around. Finally, after 6 months, the decision was made to return Madison to her mother's custody. It was a gradual transition, starting with weekends and eventually becoming full-time. Madison was nervous, but also cautiously optimistic. The night before Madison moved back in with her mother permanently, the Iron Cross Riders threw her a small party at Austin's house. They grilled burgers, played games, and gave her gifts: a new art set from Lauren, a model motorcycle kit from Tyler, a journal from Zoe, a baseball glove from Dylan, and a leather jacket with the Iron Cross Riders patch from Austin. "This doesn't mean goodbye," Austin said as he helped Madison try on the jacket. "You're part of our family now, Madison. And family doesn't disappear just because circumstances change." Madison hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." The next day, Madison moved back in with her mother. The apartment was cleaner than it had been before, with food in the refrigerator and a proper bed for Madison in her room. Rebecca had worked hard to create a safe, welcoming space for her daughter. But the bikers didn't disappear. They continued to check in on Madison regularly, taking her on outings and making sure she knew they were still there. They also built a relationship with Rebecca, offering support and encouragement as she navigated the challenges of single parenthood. Rebecca was initially wary of the bikers, but over time, she came to appreciate what they had done for her daughter. "You saved her," she told Austin one day. "When I was at my worst, you were there for her. I can never repay that." "You don't have to repay anything," Austin said. "Just keep being the mom she deserves." A year after Madison returned to her mother's care, life had settled into a new normal. Madison was thriving in school, her grades improving as her confidence grew. She still drew constantly, and her artwork had become more vibrant, filled with images of motorcycles, landscapes, and the people who had become her extended family. Rebecca had maintained her sobriety and was working full-time as a manager at a local retail store. She had even started dating again, carefully, cautiously, determined not to repeat past mistakes. The relationship with the bikers had evolved into something genuine. Rebecca no longer saw them as intimidating outsiders, but as friends who had her daughter's best interests at heart. But life has a way of testing people when they least expect it. It started with small things. Madison noticed that her mother seemed stressed, distracted. Rebecca would come home from work looking exhausted, her shoulders slumped, her expression tight with worry. When Madison asked what was wrong, Rebecca would force a smile and say everything was fine. But everything wasn't fine. Rebecca's ex-boyfriend, Derek Collins, had been released from prison. He had been serving time for assault and drug possession, charges that had stemmed from incidents that occurred while he and Rebecca were together. Derek was the reason Rebecca had spiraled into substance abuse in the first place, a toxic relationship that had nearly destroyed her. Derek had found out where Rebecca was living, and he wanted back into her life. He started showing up at her workplace, calling her phone, sending messages that ranged from apologetic to threatening. Rebecca had blocked his number and told her manager about the situation, but Derek was persistent. One evening, as Rebecca and Madison were walking to their car after grocery shopping, Derek appeared. He was a tall man with a gaunt face and cold, calculating eyes. He looked different than he had a year ago. Harder, more desperate. "Rebecca," he called out, his voice carrying across the parking lot. "We need to talk." Rebecca's face went pale. She grabbed Madison's hand and pulled her closer. "Stay away from us, Derek," she said, her voice shaking but firm. Derek took a step closer. "Come on, babe, I just want to talk. We had something good once. We can have it again." "We never had anything good," Rebecca said. "You need to leave us alone." Derek's expression darkened. "You think you're better than me now? You think you can just forget about what we had?" Madison watched the exchange with growing fear. She had heard her mother mention Derek before, always in hushed tones, always with a look of pain in her eyes. This was the man who had hurt her mother, who had contributed to the darkest period of their lives. A security guard from the store noticed the confrontation and started walking over. Derek saw him coming and backed off, but not before leaning in close to Rebecca. "This isn't over," he hissed. That night, Rebecca sat Madison down and explained the situation. She told her about Derek, about their past relationship, and about why she was scared. Madison listened, her heart pounding with fear and anger. "We need to tell Austin," Madison said. "He'll know what to do." Rebecca hesitated. She had worked so hard to prove that she could handle things on her own, that she didn't need to rely on others. But looking at her daughter's frightened face, she realized that pride was less important than safety. She called Austin. Within an hour, Austin, Jacob, and Lauren were at Rebecca's apartment. They listened as she recounted the encounter with Derek, and Austin's expression grew increasingly grim. "Do you have a restraining order against him?" Austin asked. Rebecca shook her head. "I didn't think I needed one. I thought he'd stay away after getting out of prison." "You need one now," Lauren said firmly, "and you need to document every interaction you've had with him. Texts, calls, everything." Jacob leaned forward. "Has he made any specific threats?" "Not in words," Rebecca said. "But the way he looked at me. I know Derek. When he wants something, he doesn't stop until he gets it." Austin stood up and began pacing. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. First, tomorrow you're going to the courthouse to file for a restraining order. Lauren will go with you to make sure you have everything you need. Second," Jacob added, "we're going to make sure you and Madison are never alone in vulnerable situations. We'll set up a schedule. One of us will be available to pick Madison up from school, walk you to your car after work, whatever you need." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to do this. This is my problem." "No," Austin said firmly. "When someone threatens you or Madison, it becomes our problem. You're family, Rebecca, and we protect family." Over the next week, the Iron Cross Riders put a protection plan into action. They coordinated schedules to ensure that Rebecca and Madison always had someone nearby. They installed better locks on Rebecca's apartment and set up a security camera at the entrance. They made their presence known, wanting Derek to understand that Rebecca and Madison weren't alone. Derek noticed the bikers' involvement and he wasn't pleased. He started making more overt threats, leaving notes on Rebecca's car, making harassing phone calls from different numbers. The police were informed and officers increased patrols around Rebecca's apartment and workplace. One night, things came to a head. Madison was sleeping over at a friend's house and Rebecca was alone in her apartment. Around midnight, she heard someone trying to force open her front door. Her heart pounding, she grabbed her phone and dialed 911, then immediately called Austin. The attempt to break in woke several neighbors, who also called the police. Within minutes, sirens filled the air. Derek fled before officers arrived, but security camera footage clearly showed him attempting to break into the apartment. Austin and several other club members arrived shortly after the police. They found Rebecca shaken but unharmed, sitting in her living room wrapped in a blanket as officers took her statement. "That's it," Austin said. "You and Madison are staying somewhere else until this guy is caught." "I can't just leave," Rebecca protested. "I have work. Madison has school." "Your work will understand, and Madison can miss a few days of school," Lauren interjected. "Your safety is more important." The police agreed. With Derek's attempted break-in, combined with the restraining order violation and his prior record, a warrant was issued for his arrest. But until he was in custody, Rebecca and Madison needed to be somewhere he couldn't find them. The bikers arranged for Rebecca and Madison to stay at a small cabin owned by Dylan's family, located about 50 miles outside the city. It was remote and private, the perfect place to lay low for a few days. Jacob and Tyler took turns staying at the cabin as additional security, while Austin coordinated with the police on the search for Derek. For Madison, the situation was terrifying. She had finally felt safe, finally believed that her life was stable, and now it was all falling apart again. She spent her days at the cabin drawing anxiously, her artwork darker and more chaotic than before. Zoe came to visit, bringing medical supplies and a calm, reassuring presence. She sat with Madison on the cabin's porch, looking out at the trees swaying in the wind. "It's not fair," Madison said quietly. "We were doing so good. Why does he have to ruin everything?" "I know it feels that way," Zoe said, "but Derek isn't ruining everything. He's just an obstacle, a really big, scary obstacle, but just an obstacle. And you know what? You and your mom have already overcome so much. You'll get through this too." "What if he hurts Mom?" Madison asked, her voice breaking. "We're not going to let that happen," Zoe said firmly. "You've got an entire group of people who would move heaven and earth to keep you both safe. Derek is one man against a whole community. He doesn't stand a chance." 3 days later, Derek was arrested. He had been spotted by an off-duty police officer at a gas station on the outskirts of town, and a team quickly moved in to apprehend him. He was charged with multiple offenses, including attempted burglary, stalking, and violating a restraining order. Given his prior record, he was held without bail pending trial. When Rebecca received the news, she broke down in tears, tears of relief, of exhaustion, of gratitude. Madison hugged her mother tightly, and for the first time in days, they both felt like they could breathe. Austin and the others brought Rebecca and Madison back to their apartment. A small group of neighbors had gathered to welcome them home, bringing food and words of support. The community had rallied around them, united in the face of a threat. That evening, as they sat in Rebecca's living room, Austin raised a glass of soda in a toast. "To Rebecca and Madison," he said. "Two of the strongest people I know. You've faced hell and come out the other side. Here's to brighter days ahead." Everyone raised their glasses and echoed the sentiment. Madison looked around at the faces surrounding her. These people who had become her guardians, her protectors, her family. She realized that she was no longer the scared little girl sitting alone in a parking lot. She had grown, had found strength she didn't know she possessed, and had learned that asking for help wasn't weakness. It was courage. 2 years had passed since that fateful night in the parking lot. Madison was now 10 years old, confident and thriving in ways that seemed impossible back when she had been that frightened 8-year-old, waiting for a mother who never came. The Iron Cross Riders had become a permanent fixture in Madison and Rebecca's lives. What had started as an act of compassion had evolved into genuine family bonds. Madison called Austin Uncle Austin, and the other members of the club had similar honorary titles. They attended her school events, celebrated her birthdays, and continued to be a source of support and guidance. Rebecca had been promoted at work and was now an assistant store manager. Her relationship with her daughter had transformed from one of instability and neglect to one of mutual respect and love. She attended parenting support groups and had built a network of friends who helped her stay accountable and grounded. The woman she had been 2 years ago felt like a different person entirely. Derek Collins had been sentenced to 5 years in prison. Rebecca had testified at his trial, and the process had been difficult but cathartic. She had finally confronted the person who had contributed to so much pain in her life, and she had come through it stronger. One spring afternoon, the Iron Cross Riders organized a community event at the same plaza where they had first found Madison. It was a charity rally to raise money for child welfare organizations and foster care programs. Dozens of motorcycles lined the parking lot, their engines rumbling like controlled thunder. Families walked among the bikes, children's eyes wide with fascination. Madison was there, of course, helping to distribute flyers and talking to visitors about the importance of supporting children in need. She wore her small leather jacket with the Iron Cross Riders patch, a symbol of her connection to the club that had saved her. Patricia Lawson, the social worker who had first facilitated the bikers' involvement with Madison, was also present. She stood with Austin, watching Madison interact with other children. "You know," Patricia said, "when you first approached me about helping Madison, I was skeptical. I'd seen well-meaning people come and go, making promises they couldn't keep. But you proved me wrong." Austin smiled. "We almost didn't do anything that night. We could have just called the police and ridden away, but something about that kid sitting there alone. We couldn't just leave her." "I'm glad you didn't," Patricia said. Madison's story could have ended very differently. She could have become another statistic, another child lost in the system. Instead, she's thriving, and it's because you and your club decided to care. Officer Santos, who had also become a friend over the past 2 years, joined them. "This event is incredible," she said, gesturing to the crowd. "How much have you raised so far?" "We're close to $15,000, Jacob reported, walking up with a clipboard. "And we've still got 3 hours to go." "That money is going to help a lot of kids," Patricia said. "Kids just like Madison was." As the afternoon wore on, Austin took the small stage that had been set up for announcements. He tapped the microphone to get everyone's attention. "Thanks for coming out today," he began. "For those who don't know me, my name is Austin Reed, and I'm the president of the Iron Cross Riders. 2 years ago, my club and I were pulling into this very parking lot when we saw a little girl sitting alone on that curb over there." He pointed to the spot where Madison had been sitting. That moment changed all of our lives. The crowd grew quiet, listening intently. "That little girl's name is Madison Turner, and she's here today. Madison, can you come up here?" Madison looked surprised, but walked up to the stage with Rebecca beside her. Austin put his arm around her shoulders. "Madison was in a bad situation," Austin continued. "Her mum was struggling, and Madison was caught in the middle. But instead of turning away, we decided to help. And you know what we learned? That helping someone doesn't require special training or a lot of money. It just requires paying attention, caring, and being willing to act. He looked out at the crowd. There are kids like Madison everywhere, in our schools, our neighborhoods, our communities. Kids who are alone, scared, and desperate for someone to notice them. Today, we're raising money to support the organizations that help those kids. But more than that, we're here to remind everyone that we all have a role to play in protecting the children in our community. The crowd erupted in applause. Madison wiped tears from her eyes, overwhelmed by the support and love surrounding her. Rebecca took the microphone next, her voice shaking slightly. "I want to say something too," she began. 2 years ago, I was at my lowest point. I was a terrible mother, and I put my daughter in danger because of my own problems. These people right here," she gestured to the bikers, "they had every reason to judge me, to write me off as a lost cause. But they didn't. They saw past my mistakes and gave me a chance to be better. They supported me, challenged me, and never gave up on me or my daughter." She paused, composing herself. "If you're struggling, if you're at a point where you think you can't go on, please know that people care. There are people who will help you if you let them. Don't be too proud to ask for help. I almost lost everything because of my pride. Don't make the same mistake I did." The applause was even louder this time. Several people in the crowd were crying, moved by Rebecca's honesty and vulnerability. After the speeches, Madison found herself surrounded by people who wanted to hear her story. She told them about that night in the parking lot, about how scared she had been, and about how the bikers had become her guardians. She spoke with a maturity beyond her years, her experiences having shaped her into someone who understood pain, but also hope. Later, as the sun began to set and the event wound down, the members of the Iron Cross Riders gathered with Madison and Rebecca. They stood in the same parking lot where their journey had begun, but now it felt different, less like a place of abandonment and more like a place of transformation. "You know what's crazy?" Dylan said, looking around. 2 years ago, we were just planning to grab dinner after a charity ride. We had no idea we were about to become part of something like this. "Life's funny that way," Lauren said. "The most important moments often start with the simplest decisions, like deciding to check on a kid sitting alone." Tyler looked at Madison. "You've come so far, kiddo. I'm really proud of you." Madison smiled. "I couldn't have done it without all of you. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Zoe pulled Madison into a hug. "And we'll keep believing in you. No matter where life takes you, you've got us." Austin crouched down to Madison's level. "Remember that card I gave to the officer that first night? The one with my number on it?" Madison nodded. "I want you to keep that card forever," Austin said. "Not because you'll need to call for help. I think you and your mom are going to be just fine. But because it's a reminder that you're never alone. You've got a whole community behind you." Madison threw her arms around Austin's neck. "Thank you," she whispered, "for saving me. You saved yourself, Madison," Austin said softly. "We just helped show you the way." As darkness fell over the parking lot, the bikers mounted their motorcycles. The familiar roar of engines filled the air, a sound that Madison had once found frightening, but now associated with safety and protection. The bikes pulled out one by one, their headlights cutting through the night. Madison and Rebecca stood together, waving goodbye until the last motorcycle disappeared from view. Then they turned and walked to their own car, a used sedan that Rebecca had saved up to buy, a symbol of her growing stability and independence. As they drove home, Madison looked out the window at the city lights. She thought about how different her life was now compared to 2 years ago. She thought about the foster home, the fear, the uncertainty. But she also thought about the kindness of strangers who became family, about second chances, and about the power of people who choose to care. "Mom?" Madison said quietly. "Yes, sweetie." Do you think we'll ever forget that night? The night in the parking lot. Rebecca was quiet for a moment, her hands steady on the steering wheel. I don't think we should forget it, she finally said. That night was scary and painful, but it was also the beginning of something better. It was the night that reminded me what really matters, and it was the night we found our family. Madison nodded, satisfied with that answer. She pulled out her sketchbook and began to draw by the light of passing street lamps. The image that emerged was of 6 motorcycles arranged in a protective circle, and at the center, a small figure. Safe, loved, and no longer alone. 3 years later, Madison was 13 years old and had just started middle school. She was part of an art program for gifted students and had won several local competitions. Her drawings of motorcycles and riders had gained attention, and she had even sold a few pieces to raise money for foster care organizations. Rebecca had continued to thrive. She had been promoted again and was now managing her own store. She had completed college courses in business management and was considering going back to school for a full degree. Her relationship with Madison was strong, built on communication, trust, and mutual support. The Iron Cross Riders remained a constant presence in their lives. The club had grown, adding new members who were drawn to the organization's commitment to community service and support. Austin had started a formal mentorship program connecting club members with children in foster care across the region. What had started with one little girl in a parking lot had expanded to help dozens of kids. Madison still wore her leather jacket with the Iron Cross Riders patch. It had to be replaced twice as she grew, but the patch remained the same, a symbol of belonging, of protection, of family chosen rather than given. On the anniversary of that first night in the parking lot, the club made it a tradition to return to Ridgewood Plaza. They would gather at the spot where Madison had been sitting, and they would share stories of how their lives had changed. It was a reminder of why they rode, not just for the thrill of the open road, but for the opportunity to make a difference in the world. During one of these anniversary gatherings, a young mother approached the group. She was pushing a stroller and looked exhausted, overwhelmed. She had seen the gathering of motorcycles and the people standing together, and something about the scene gave her courage to speak. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I heard someone talking about a mentorship program for kids." Lauren stepped forward with a warm smile. "That's right. Are you interested in learning more?" The woman nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm struggling. I'm a single mom, and I work 2 jobs, and I feel like I'm failing my daughter. I don't want her to ND up like I did." Rebecca stepped forward, recognizing something of herself in this woman's desperation. "I understand exactly how you feel," she said gently. "I've been where you are. Let me tell you about these people and how they changed my life." As Rebecca shared her story with the young mother, Madison watched from nearby. She saw hope flickering in the woman's eyes, the same hope that had once been rekindled in her own heart. She realized then that their story wasn't just about them. It was about creating a ripple effect of kindness that could reach people they hadn't even met yet. Austin handed the woman a card with information about the mentorship program and support services. "We're here to help," he said. "No judgment, no conditions, just support." The woman clutched the card like a lifeline. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." "Actually," Madison said, stepping forward, "we do know, because we've lived it." The woman looked at Madison, this confident young girl with a leather jacket and bright eyes, and she could hardly imagine that this was the same child who had once been lost and alone. If Madison could overcome her circumstances, maybe there was hope for her own daughter too. As the sun set on another anniversary gathering, the Iron Cross Riders stood together one more time at the spot where it all began. They looked around at the parking lot that had once been a place of abandonment, but had become a symbol of transformation and redemption. You know what I think about sometimes, Tyler said, breaking the comfortable silence. What if we hadn't stopped that night? What if we just minded our own business? But we didn't, Zoe said. And that's what matters. We chose to care, and that choice made all the difference. Jacob nodded. Every person here has been changed by what happened. We're not just a motorcycle club anymore. We're a family that extends beyond leather and bikes. Dylan smiled. And we've learned that the toughest thing you can do isn't riding the fastest or going the farthest. It's showing up for people when they need you most. Lauren looked at Madison, who was standing with her mother, both of them talking animatedly with other families who had come to the event. That kid right there is proof that people can change their entire trajectory when they're given support and love. She could have ended up lost in the system, but instead, she's thriving. Austin watched the scene unfold. The motorcycles gleaming under the parking lot lights, the families gathered together, the community that had formed around a simple act of compassion. You know what the best part is, he said. This isn't the end of the story. This is just the beginning. Every person we help, every kid we mentor, every family we support, they all go on to help others. We didn't just save Madison, we started a movement. Madison approached the group, her sketchbook in hand. Uncle Austin, I finished it, she said, holding up the drawing she had been working on. The image was stunning, a detailed rendering of the parking lot at night with 6 motorcycles arranged in a protective circle. In the center was a small girl, but she wasn't alone or afraid. She was standing tall, surrounded by shadows that had transformed into guardians. Above the scene, in careful lettering, Madison had written, "From darkness to light, how strangers became family." It's beautiful, Austin said, his voice thick with emotion. What are you going to do with it? I'm donating it to the foster care organization, Madison said. I want kids who are going through what I went through to see it. I want them to know that there are people who care, even when it feels like no one does. Lauren pulled Madison into a hug. You're going to change lives with that drawing, kiddo, just like we changed yours and you changed ours. As the night drew to a close and people began to disperse, Madison took one last look at the curb where she had once sat alone. She could still remember the fear, the cold, the feeling of being invisible. But she could also remember the moment those motorcycles pulled into the lot, the moment everything changed. She thought about all the children who were sitting on curbs right now, waiting for someone to notice them. She thought about all the parents who were struggling, who felt like they were failing, who needed support but didn't know where to find it. And she made a promise to herself that she would spend her life being for others what the Iron Cross Riders had been for her. A guardian, a protector, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Rebecca put her arm around Madison's shoulders as they walked to their car. You okay, sweetie? Yeah, Mom, Madison said, leaning into her mother's embrace. I was just thinking about how far we've come. We've come a long way, Rebecca agreed. And we've got a long way still to go, but we're going to make it. Together. Madison nodded. With our family. With our family, Rebecca echoed, looking back at the group of bikers who were mounting their motorcycles, preparing for their ride home. The engines roared to life, that powerful, unmistakable sound that Madison had once feared, but now loved. The motorcycles pulled out of the parking lot in formation, their headlights cutting through the darkness, their presence a reminder that even in the coldest, loneliest places, there were people willing to stand as guardians for those in need. As Madison and Rebecca drove home that night, Madison pulled out her phone and sent a text to the group chat the bikers had created for her. Thank you for being my guardians. I love you all. Within seconds, responses flooded in. Love you too, kiddo. Uncle Austin, you're our favorite little rider. Aunt Lauren, you've got us forever, Madison. Uncle Jacob, we're proud of you. Aunt Zoe, your family, always. Uncle Tyler, keep being amazing. Uncle Dylan Madison smiled and put her phone away. She looked out the window at the city lights passing by, at the world that had once seemed so threatening but now felt full of possibility. She thought about the drawing in her sketchbook, about the message she wanted to share with other children who felt alone, and she realized that she had become exactly what she had needed most during her darkest hours. A voice of hope, a symbol of resilience, a reminder that guardian angels sometimes arrive on motorcycles, wearing leather jackets, and willing to stand between the vulnerable and the darkness that threatens to consume them. The story that began in a parking lot with a frightened little girl had transformed into something far greater, a testament to the power of community, the importance of compassion, and the incredible things that can happen when people choose to care. Madison Turner was no longer the 8-year-old sitting alone on a curb, waiting for someone to save her. She had become a young woman who understood that salvation doesn't come from being rescued. It comes from being seen, being valued, and being given the support to save yourself. And the Iron Cross Riders hadn't just given her that support. They had shown her that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about choosing to show up, choosing to care, and choosing to be guardians for those who need protection most. As the motorcycle engines faded into the distance and the parking lot returned to its usual quiet state, the legacy of that one night continued to ripple outward, touching lives in ways that would never be fully measured, but would always be deeply felt. Did this story touch your heart in any way? If it did, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What part of Madison's journey resonated with you most? Have you ever witnessed or experienced an act of unexpected kindness that changed your perspective? If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends and family who might need to hear this message of hope, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring true stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that matter. Remember, sometimes all it takes is one person willing to care, one moment of compassion, and one decision to act. You never know how your kindness might transform someone's life forever. Thank you for watching.